Let's bring in legal analyst and author Areva Martin for more on this case. Areva, we see the video of the police on top of Elijah McClain using that chokehold to subdue him. He's pleading for his life. Does that look like a crime?
No, Kenneth, the video is disturbing on so many levels. You hear this young man, as you said, pleading for his life, saying, I don't have a gun, I don't do that kind of stuff. And I think what really alarmed me in the first instance, what you heard the officer say to Elijah, I'm stopping you because you look suspicious, not because I believe you have committed a crime or there's probable cause with respect to any kind of crime being committed, but because you look suspicious. And that is just, completely inappropriate for the stop in the first place. And we see the stop turned very violent, very deadly, very quickly. Justice for this family is long overdue, but at least now these officers and these paramedics are going to be held accountable. This also brought awareness about paramedics giving sedatives like ketamine to potential suspects. How do you think that fact will play into this case? I think that's, again, a really troubling fact as it relates to this case. There's no explanation. We have nothing from these paramedics as to why they would choose to give this young man a sedative. He was already placed under arrest. He's in handcuffs. So why the need to inject him with a chemical that's used primarily in surgical procedures? So no explanation for the conduct. And the fact that the police union or anyone would try to justify the behavior of the officers and the behavior of the paramedics is just galling. We learned a lot from the trial of Derek Chauvin. We learned how dangerous chokeholds are. We learned how dangerous it is to have someone in a prone position. In this case, it's just another example of an unarmed African-American man killed by police for no apparent reason. And we're still learning the facts of this case, but there also seems to be that disputed question about whether McClain tried to grab an officer's gun. You mentioned there that he was unarmed. Is that a key to this whole? Is that key to this whole case? Well, what we know from the grand jury and these indictments is that that testimony or those allegations by the police officers was found not credible by the grand jury. If the grand jury thought that Elijah had tried to grab a gun from an officer and that these officers were somehow acting in self-defense or were defending themselves, then I don't think we would have seen the indictments today. I think the statements made by these officers has been determined by this grand jury to be completely non-credible. We'll see what happens at trial if they take the stand and try to give similar testimony. But at this point, we know the grand jury found sufficient evidence to issue indictments for not only 3 officers, but 2 paramedics. As we highlighted during the Chauvin George Floyd case as well, and during that trial, it is very difficult to prosecute and convict a police officer in this country. Obviously, paramedics are involved in this one as well. But which side do you think will have an easier time here proving the case, the officers and the paramedic or the prosecution? Well, I think things are changing, not nearly at the speed, Kenneth, at which we would like to see them change. And you're right, historically, it's been very difficult for prosecutors to file charges and then for even juries to convict officers once they are charged. But I think there's been a sea change shift in the way America looks at these kinds of cases, in the way that prosecutors look at these kinds of cases. I think the days are long gone of officers being able to make statements that are not corroborated by the evidence and to use those statements to absolve themselves from liability and accountability. So I think based on what we see today, the evidence had to be pretty strong that was presented to the grand jury, and I'm hoping that that evidence holds up in a court of law and that we see convictions for not only the officers but the paramedics that were so brazen in giving this young man a shot of this really strong medication that clearly wasn't warranted. All right, Ms. Areva Martin there. Thank you for your insights. Thanks, Kenneth.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.